Greetings, everyone. It's Robert Landau, Live Life Well TV host, and we are back with another episode of our popular weekly trivia show. At least one of them, because there are two different trivia shows that air every week here on Live Life Well TV. But this one is another installment in our weekly series called True or False. It is fun trivia. You get to learn something while you're having fun. I mean, what a perfect combination, fun and learning. So with that in mind, stay tuned. Are you ready? I am. Let's begin. True or false? The mint julep is the signature drink of the Kentucky Derby horse race. Again, true or false, the mint julep is the signature drink of the Kentucky Derby horse race. What do you think, true or false? That actually happens to be true. The iconic cocktail contains what? You know what the ingredients are? I'll give you some of them. You give me the last. Mint, sugar, crushed ice, and what liqueur? Bourbon. So there you go. True or false, hurricanes and typhoons are the same thing. True or false, hurricane and typhoons are the same thing. That actually happens to be true. Both are classified as tropical storms. These tropical storms are called hurricanes in some regions of the world, and these tropical storms are called typhoons in other regions of the world. Typhoons, particularly in Asia, just to name a few, some of the South Pacific area as well. Typhoon to me sounds more severe than a hurricane, but that's just me. But actually, in essence, they are very much the same storm. True or false? The thigh bone or femur is the largest bone in the human body. True or false? The thigh bone or femur is the largest bone in the human body. What do you think? True or false? That happens to be true. The femur extends from the hip all the way to the knee. Next up is this, true or false? Risotto is a common Italian dish. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? Risotto, true or false, is a common Italian dish. What do you think? I think you probably know the answer to that one, particularly for all of you Italian food buffs out there. Of course, risotto is an Italian dish. That's very true. The word comes from the Italian riso, which means rice. Next up is this, true or false for you. Tapas are common in Scandinavian countries as appetizers. True or false? Tapas are common Scandinavian appetizers. What do you think? You probably know the answer to that one. Of course, that is false. Why? Because tapas are appetizers associated with Spanish cuisine. And tapas are basically really small plates of food, and you can make a whole meal out of them. It is so much fun and so very good. They're essentially really bar snacks served alongside typically beer or wine. Next up is this, true or false? The classic sci-fi novel Fahrenheit 451 gets its title from the temperature used to burn paper. What do you think, true or false? The classic sci-fi novel, did you read it? Fahrenheit 451, I never read it. Gets its title from the temperature used to burn paper. That is true. Fahrenheit 451 in Ray Bradbury's famed tale is the temperature used to burn books banned by the state. Next up for your true or false consideration is this. True or false, a sneeze is faster than an eye blink. A sneeze is faster than an eye blink. What do you think, true or false? Is a sneeze faster than an eye blink? That actually happens to be true. And along those lines, true or false, a sneeze is faster than cars on the freeway. What do you think? A sneeze is faster than cars on the freeway, true or false? That actually happens to be true. A sneeze can be as fast as 110 miles an hour. Although I'll tell you something, in the Houston metro area here, there are people who probably drive as fast as a sneeze, and in some cases, maybe even faster, but that's probably atypical, at least I hope so. True or false? JFK is on a $2 bill. True or false? JFK is on the $2 bill. What do you think about that one? Think, think, think. That, of course, is false. So then the question remains, who is on the $2 bill? And I think I may have heard some of you guess that correctly. It's not even a guess. If you know it, of course, it happens to be Thomas Jefferson. He's the guy that is on the $2 bill. Next up, the Olympic gold medal is actually made of silver. True or false, the Olympic gold medal is actually made of silver. That is true. Next up is this, a shrimp's heart is in its head. True or false, a shrimp's heart is in its head. Well, that happens to be true. True. Next up, pigs cannot look up at the sky. True or false, pigs cannot look up at the sky. That is true as well. So let's move on to this. True or false, dolphins have larger brains than humans. Do you think that might be true, or might it just be false? Well, if you thought it might be true, you are 100% correct. Dolphins' brains, which are on average 3.5 pounds, are slightly heavier than human brains, which typically weigh 2.8 pounds on average. Next, we have this. If a scorpion loses its swinging tail, it will grow another tail within 2 weeks. True or false, if a scorpion loses its swinging tail, it will typically grow another tail, a new tail, within 2 weeks. What do you think about that one? That is actually false. Unfortunately for the scorpion, once its tail is lost, it will not grow back. That's a shame. I would have answered true to that one. Next up is this for you. True or false? Gorillas are our closest living relative species. True or false? Gorillas are our closest living relative species. True or false? What do you think? That actually happens to be false. False. Although we do share about 98% of our DNA with gorillas, our closest living relatives are actually chimps with 99% similar DNA. Gorillas, 98% similar DNA with humans, but chimps, 99% similar DNA with us humans. Next is this, true or false, there are more calories in a single peanut than in an 8-ounce steak. True or false, there are more calories in a single peanut than there happen to be in an 8-ounce steak. That is false. And here's why. A single peanut has just 11 calories, while an 8-ounce steak has, get this, 585 calories. Whoa. Next up for you, we've got this one. See if you can guess if it's true or false when I say that a fax machine, the fax machine, was patented way back in 1843. True or false, the fax machine was patented in 1843? That happens to be true. Believe it or not, the first rudimentary fax machine used foil cylinders to pass very crude, simple messages, really signatures mostly, over electrical wires. Who would have thought? My goodness, 1843. Next up, the oldest living organism on Earth is a Galapagos tortoise by the name of Harriet. True or false? The oldest living organism on Earth is a Galapagos tortoise by the name of Harriet. That happens to be false. That happens to be false. There was a tortoise named Harriet who lived to be 175 years old, but there is also a tree system known as Pando that is currently pushing 80,000 years of age. As a matter of fact, in last episode of, I think it was either true or false, or it might have been our other trivia show, did you know? We spoke about this Pando tree cluster that is that old. I think it's in Utah somewhere, and if my memory serves me correctly, which it rarely does, I think they might have been aspens or something like that. But if you're curious, go listen to the previous week's episode of Did You Know here on Live Life Well TV, and you can get that for sure. Next up, we have this for you. True or false, the darker the coffee roast, the more caffeine it contains. True or false, the darker the coffee roast, the more caffeine it contains. That is, what do you think? Let me hear you real loud now, real loud. That happens to be true. The differences are almost negligible, but typically a light roast coffee contains around 1.37% caffeine. A medium roast coffee contains about 1.21% caffeine, as does a dark roasted coffee. So it's pretty close. Next up is this, true or false? Oreo cookies predate chocolate chip cookies by over 25 years. What do you think about that? True or false? Oreo cookies predate chocolate chip cookies by over 25 years. Now, that might not be as easy as you think, because the answer happens to be true. Oreo brand cookies were introduced in 1912, and chocolate chip cookies weren't introduced until 1938. So Oreos were first introduced back in 1912, and chocolate chip cookies weren't introduced until 1938. Wow. Which do you prefer more, chocolate chip cookies or Oreo cookies? I guess both go well with milk. If you had to ask me, I would say Oreo, because I like the combination of the white cream and the chocolate cookie. And when you dip them in milk, am I getting you hungry now? When you dip them in milk, oh, it is a taste sensation. But freshly baked chocolate chip cookies dipped in milk? Oh, I don't know. I think they're both up there as far as I'm concerned. How about you? Next up, true or false? Abraham Lincoln and Albert Einstein were alive at the same time. Their lives overlapped by 14 years. True or false? Abraham Lincoln and Albert Einstein were alive at the same time. Their lives overlapped by 14 years. What do you think? Interesting question, really. True or false? That happens to be false. False. Abraham Lincoln lived from 1809 to 1865, while Albert Einstein lived from 1879 to 1955. So again, Lincoln lived from 1809 all the way till 1865, while Albert Einstein lived from 1879 all the way till 1955. They actually just missed each other by 14 years. Two more. Here is the second last true or false for your consideration. So true or false, the total weight of termites on Earth happens to be much heavier than the total weight of humans on Earth. Again, the total weight of termites, my goodness, termites, what are those? True or false? The total weight of termites on Earth is much heavier than the total weight of humans on Earth. What do you think about that? True or false? Well, it just might be true. You know why? Because it is, and here is why. Living humans make up 350 million metric tons of biomass, and termites make up 445 million metric tons. Humans, 350 million metric tons. Termites, 445 million metric tons. Wow. That brings us to the last and final question for this episode of True or False, and it goes like this. True or false? The total weight, it's another one along these lines, the total weight of all humans on Earth is actually heavier than all of the cows on Earth. Let's do that one again because it's quite an interesting question. True or false? The total weight of all the humans on Earth is actually heavier than all of the cows on Earth. What do you think about that? True or false? Well, if you answered false, you are 100% correct. Living cattle actually account for 520 million metric tons of biomass, beating out humans by 170 million metric tons. 520 million metric tons for cows. Humans, only 170 million metric tons. So there you go. Did you learn a couple of things that you didn't know before? I hope so, but here's an even more pressing and important question. Did you have fun learning a couple of things that you didn't know before? Well, I hope you did. I always have fun presenting this and so many other series on a weekly basis here for you on Live Life Well TV. This has been Robert Landau, your Live Life Well TV host. Thank you for joining me this episode. We'll see you on another episode of True or False very soon. Until then, God bless.